Imagine placing a bid for a house for $900,000. A lot is riding on this. A family's dreams, your commission. And you send 7 PDFs. You send an email with 7 different attachments. Like, are you insane? How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt, that is Shawn, and welcome to our show, Shawn. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the most profitable real estate brokerages. We got a little update on Amazon HQ2. Not a great update, though, so curious to know your thoughts. And we're going to get into some listing agent experiences, expectations. What do you want to call them, Shawn? By the way, last episode we left off, you had a house in North Arlington and Westover listed for $875. You said you might be getting multiple offers. I set the line at $933.5. How'd I do? What'd you end up at?
You did really, really well.
What was the final price on that bad boy?
You were at what?
So my over-under line, where if like you set the odds and I'm going to pick a number that's going to be very close where you're not sure if you go over or under, that line was $933,500.
Right, you were really close. It went for $931,000.
$931. Vegas, call me.
By
the way, I was playing pickleball in Scottsdale, Arizona a couple weeks ago. This guy shows up to the court. It's like 90 degrees out. He's in an all-white outfit with a hoodie on, but it's one of those hoodies that has like sleeveless. It's a sleeveless hoodie. So it's like, all right, are you warm or cold? Like, make up your mind. He's got the white shorts with like the white tights and the white shoes. Like bald goatee, tattoos. Like, this dude's a character.
Yeah.
And I overheard his job, NFL handicapper.
Oh my God.
he's not the person setting the lines in Vegas. He's the person trying to beat the lines in Vegas.
Wow.
It was the most like Scottsdale thing that I've ever seen.
That's
like
crazy.
This guy in all white, and him trying to explain to the snowbirds what an NFL handicap. They're like, oh, so do you work for Caesar's Palace? It's like, no, I try to take down Caesar's Palace.
That's crazy. I wonder how he does.
Well, in the betting world, if you do like 55%, you're the best gambler in the world.
Yeah.
And think about how many people lose money sports gambling. Hint, it's all of them. He's only got to hit like one of every 2 bets, but I don't know. I looked at his pickleball paddle, wasn't the greatest, so maybe that goes to show.
Judging by the pickleball paddle.
Anyways, got off track there. So I thought it was $933.5. Multiple offers listed for $875. Ended at $931. But as for your experiences with the buyer's agents bringing you the offers, you set an offer deadline. Did you stick to that deadline? Did you have best and final? Did you go back to other buyers a couple times? How did you handle this whole situation?
Yeah. All right. So first off, traffic was really great. We had 22 agent showings, and I did 2 open houses, 1 to 3 Saturday and Sunday, and I was not alone the entire time. It was busy. I had people camped out front, out back. They were sitting on the lawn furniture. They're chilling. They're just talking. And that's a great fun open house. We had a lot of people through. Agents were asking, do you have a deadline? I said, yes. I set a deadline for Tuesday at noon. Are you sticking to that deadline? Yes, I am. I'm sticking to that deadline.
So when you say something, you do that thing that you're going to say? Or no, you don't. So if you say something, do you actually do that thing?
I did it.
Oh,
yeah.
You don't do the opposite. So you don't say something and then,
and then change my mind
and do the exact opposite.
You're right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know people did that.
Yeah.
I didn't know people said one thing and then kept to their
word, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's rare.
My word is my bond. Man.
Oh, interesting. That's so interesting.
Yeah. So I set a deadline, and it was Tuesday at noon, and I had agents say, are you going to stick with that deadline? And I said, absolutely. I'm sticking with the deadline. They said, thank you. That makes my life easier. You're going to stick to the deadline. And, basically, I'm going to say, listen, my clients aren't able to make a decision. They're not going to make a decision before that deadline, because I know that if I can get to that deadline, I can get the best price possible, the best contract possible. And so that's always the goal. Now, every scenario is different. You're going to run into different stuff, and every buyer and seller are different. So it just depends. But we stuck to that deadline. We ended up getting 3 offers. Okay, 3 offers for this property is pretty good. They were competing hard. They were all really good contracts. I thought maybe I would get more, but the thing is, you have to understand that this is a particular house. It's a smaller 2-bedroom, 2-bath home, colonial in Arlington, has a cool Airbnb in the back. Now, we get to the deadline, and I have no offers, but I know that I'm going to get some. I have no offers till the morning of, and at about 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock, I got the first offer, and then the second, and then the third. What I'll say, without naming names, I'm never going to name agents' names or anything, but a couple things that I went through. Number one, the winning contract, and not to say that this is, maybe this is a little hint of what you have to do, but the winning contract, I had one PDF, no other attachments.
One PDF.
One PDF.
As opposed to?
7.
7.
Right? I don't want the disclosures and the contract and your contingencies and your lender letter and everything else in 5 or 6 different PDFs. If I'm the listing agent, I want everything clean, crisp, and your work, the way you send me an email, is pretty predictive on how you do your business.
Imagine placing a bid for a house for $900,000. A lot is riding on this. A family's dreams, your commission, and you send 7 PDFs. You send an email with 7 different attachments. Like, are you insane?
And you know what's easy to do is miss one of those attachments, right? It's very easy to miss one. I'm just pulling stuff over quickly, trying to pull it up. What if I miss an attachment, So please, agents, make one attachment. It's not very hard. There's a PDF editor. You can put them all to it. There's a couple different ways that you can do it. Learn how to do it and do it right and put it all in one attachment. That's what we want. It makes our life much more simple. The other thing is that I will say, and I will say this to every agent out there, and every listing agent is going to do things differently. But what I don't want to do is wonder what your best offer really is. If you're competing and you're competing and you're going to use an escalation addendum, which I use, I don't mind, I like escalation addenda. If you're going to use that, then write your best offer. If you know you're competing, write the best possible offer the first time. And when I see that offer, I'm gonna think that this is your best offer. And don't get mad at me if I go back to you and say you lost, and you say, well, we would have done that. We would have done that. Well, you didn't. You didn't do that.
Well, that's the whole thing of like, all right, if you're working with a buyer, are you going to get a second shot at it? It's like, oh, do you think they're going to come back to us? Well, if the offer's not good enough, no. If it's like a hairline difference and it's like, all right, if you could just do this for us, maybe. Mm-hmm. But if you have to like go back and wait and you're in third place, you got to waive all these different things, you go up in price. No, you don't get a second chance.
Exactly. That's the thing is, and this particular one was a lot lower than the others. It was cash. I had cash, VA, and conventional. 2 of the contracts had no contingencies. One had a contingency. One was a lot lower. But the thing is, I go back and tell them, and I'm like, well, you didn't waive all your contingencies. The winning offer did, and you were way off on the price. And yes, okay, now you're telling me that you would have done that had I come back to you, but you have to take the effort to say, this listing agent probably isn't going to come back to me. I'm going to write the best offer that I possibly can so that I'm not in this position to have to tell my clients that you did not get it. And we could have gotten it if we would have written harder like we initially thought we should have. It's not like, and that's the tough thing is I always preface with my clients, I'm like, listen, you have 3 offers. You can counter any one of these if you want to in any of these terms, all right? We might have one way up here and one down here that's all cash and one up here that's a VA loan. But you can say, hey, all right, I like this number. Let's see if this cash offer will go up to X, right? You can always do that. You can see. But I say that to them, and what was their response? Well, this one won free and clear, so let's go with the winning offer, right? Mm-hmm. Let's go with the winning offer. Write your best offer. I'm not going to take the responsibility of the fact of feeling bad that I didn't call you and say, hey, will you come up to X? You should already write your offer to the best of the ability, and don't rely on me to call you and say, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? Because you know what? Every buyer agent is saying that to me. Like, oh, just tell me what I got to do. If you're close, I might do that. But if you're so far off that it doesn't make the call, then I'm not going to do that every time. So my point is, number one, write the best offer that you can. Pretend that you're not going to get the call back. And and sometimes, I've written such stellar offers, you have too, and you don't get a call back. All you get is a text, sorry, we chose another offer, boom, done. You have to think of it that way every time. You get one shot and make it your best shot. I feel bad. I always feel bad having to make that call and say, listen, I'm sorry. I met your clients in the open house. They loved the house. They were dying for this house, but they didn't get it, And we've all gone through loss like that. We've all gone through the fact that we didn't get a place. But, I shouldn't feel bad as a listing agent because I didn't come back to you and have you raise your price $30,000 to get to where we needed to be. Write your best offer.
And how does that even play out if you tell every buyer's agent what they need to do?
Yeah, then you're going to have 3 exactly same offers, and everybody's going to be pissed at you.
And then you have to go back and say, well, actually, I just told everyone else what they have to do, and they did that, so now you're going to have to do this.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't work out that way.
It doesn't. And I've done that before where I was like, hey, I was telling everybody the scenario and stuff, and we had 5 exactly the same offers. And then we're like, what do you do then? Do you say best and final? I hate doing that. And then another thing is, I had another agent come in and they said, my clients love this place. Please tell me no, but are you doing any escalation clauses? And I said,
what a weird way to frame that.
Yeah, please tell me no, but are you doing escalation clauses? And I said, yeah, I'm doing escalation clauses. Sorry to tell you. She goes, I'm going to have to tell my clients and explain that to them. I'm like, how are you not explaining this to them?
How do they not already know that?
They should know this. They should know that how if you're in a competitive market like this, we are in a competitive market. The way you win is with an escalation clause. And the way I'm going to get the best offer for my clients is with an escalation clause. That's what we're using.
Have you seen the descriptions in the MLS where it's like, seller doesn't like escalation clauses. Please submit your best and final. It's like, all right, I don't think it's the seller that doesn't prefer escalation clause. I think it's the brokerage. It's like, seller prefers XYZ title company. It's like, no, seller doesn't prefer that title company. Listing agent who has a sketchy joint venture with that title company prefers that brokerage.
Don't believe everything you read in the MLS. That's the stuff. It drives me crazy. And like, bring your best and final and don't use an escalation clause. You're getting an escalation clause from me. That's just the way.
So, I mean, with this person, this buyer's agent who submitted an offer and they didn't get it, and then they're a little bit sour about it. Did they know that there were other offers?
No, yeah.
They knew that they were
up front the whole time. They knew they were competing, every single one of them.
Because that would be my only thing. Because sometimes you'll like write an offer and then maybe some time will pass, and then if you don't get it, sometimes I'll submit an offer and then I need to know if there's other offers to be able to properly advise my clients. And so like if you submit an offer thinking that there's 0 offers, then the agent gets back to you and says, oh, you didn't get it. I'm like, who did? No one else was right. Oh, we actually got 2 or 3. Why didn't you tell me that?
Right.
We would have gone higher.
Right. No, I'm always upfront about that. And you have to be, as a listing agent, say, oh, wait, how many offers do you have? I'll update you as I get more. If you're the first offer in, I'll give you that courtesy to say, we got a second offer. Do you want to improve your offer? Because honestly, if I'm writing and I'm representing my buyer, if there's no offers, I'm not putting in an escalation clause the first offer, right?
No.
Like, you don't put it in.
That would be doing a disservice.
You're doing a disservice to your client. You're trying to get a deal for your client. If there's no other offers and you put in escalation, you're throwing out your card. So I'm not putting in an escalation until later that I know that there's offers, and then I'll say, all right, here's our new offer. So just be careful. And I feel bad as a listing agent to call these people back to say you didn't get it. A lot of these agents in the area are my friends. I know them. We deal with the same agents over and over again. Sometimes we give them good news. Sometimes we give them bad news. So it's tough, but just write your best offer the first time.
Drop a comment down below if you've experienced a multiple offer scenario, or if you agree with Shawn in writing your best and final offer the first time. Shawn, speaking of local, Northern Virginia, Amazon HQ too. So article from T.O. Armis from the Washington Post came out recently. Amazon HQ2 was supposed to add jobs last year. It shed them instead. So Amazon HQ2 in Arlington was supposed to add more than 2,500 new employees at HQ2 in Pentagon City, Crystal City, National Landing in 2023. But instead, it lost more than 200 positions there last year instead. So my question to you is, at what point do we start sounding the alarm bells of Amazon HQ2? Because last year in 2023, they paused construction, right? So they're halfway done. They've done what? They've done Metropolitan Park. They still have Penn Place to go, but construction has stopped. Now, I will say that ARL Now came out with an article that said, dated March 15th, so about a month ago, utility work for HQ2's stalled second phase set to start next week. So we're now maybe starting to see the ball rolling. But it begs the question because we were promised a lot. We as in Arlington were promised a lot. You know, you have a conglomerate, right? A huge company coming in, promising all these jobs, promising all this development. We're starting to see the development. Haven't really seen the jobs. I think they've added about 6,000 of the 25,000 total jobs. So nowhere near the amount of jobs that Arlington was promised. And I guess I'm protective, right? Arlington is home, and I don't want a big company to come in here, promise the world, and sort of like the monorail salesman of The Simpsons, get the old rug pulled from under you. So, Shawn, at what point is there a concern level that, hey, maybe this wasn't a great deal for Arlington? Maybe this isn't all that it's cracked up to be.
Yeah, and you have to think about the tax incentives that they were given in order to hire. They said they were going to hire 25,000 people, and so the tax incentives were massive to attract that. And was it actually worth it? Well, let's think about it. They first announced, I think it was 2018.
November 2018.
So now we're 6 years in. There's supposed to be how many total?
25,000 new jobs.
Was that just in this area, or was that with both headquarters that they were doing at the time?
No, that was just this area.
So I was 25,000, and so now we're 6 years in, and we have hired. What did they say, about 8,000?
About 6,000. So that's
6,000.
interesting. So T.O. Armis did a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, on Amazon to get the number of jobs that were added in 2023. How many new jobs from Amazon in this area were added in 2023, Shawn? Pop quiz.
I would say 4,000.
0.
What?
0. So there were 0. The number of eligible new jobs created from January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023 is 0. So like the article said, they are losing jobs, and then they're not also creating new jobs. Now, you could say, well, they're not creating new jobs because the construction is paused. And yeah, it's paused because of the pandemic and rising interest rates and, back to office, concerns. But it's still, lots of promises that haven't been fulfilled on Amazon's part. And I'm kicking myself because I don't have the exact tax benefits that Arlington County gave them, to sign up here. But I guess it's just worrisome when you're promised one thing, and I think I was born in the morning, but I wasn't born yesterday morning.
Yeah.
Right? That's the saying. So I know that this isn't the first company ever to be like, yeah, we're gonna do all these amazing things for your community, and then not do it. But I guess I'm just worried that all of this momentum is starting to slow down, but maybe there's the glimmer of hope that utility
work has started.
Hey, so as the ARL Now article says, that is a tangible thing that you can point to that says, look, there's life, there's hope, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we've gone through such dramatic changes in our life in the last 5 years that we didn't ever think of, we didn't believe was could ever happen, and it did. And we had a complete migration of people moving out of cities into the suburbs, and the work-life balance had changed. And we never expected that. And Amazon surely didn't expect that when they bought this plot of land and started building. And I think, but I'm starting to see the articles, and we have seen a lot of the migration back. And I'll tell you, the traffic's starting to get back, right? Like when I bought my house, we could drive all around DC and be like, we can get anywhere. Before that, it was like, all right, I have an appointment at 5:30 in Springfield. You better leave at 3. It's taken forever to get out there. But, it's gotten easier and easier, and we've gotten used to being able to drive around. But I can tell you that traffic's it's getting worse. So especially on those days, Tuesdays, Wednesdays,
and Wednesdays, everyone goes into the office.
Everybody goes into the office those 2 days. So my point is, we have seen a dramatic change in the way that work and life is handled now, but there is a push. People are trying to get them back in because they're seeing, problems with the work at home lifestyle, and controlling people and making them actually work and do the work and making sure they're performing. So I think work is one thing. And, I work at home. I have a home office. I get interrupted by my kids a lot. It's hard. You get distracted. But the thing is, you end up working longer hours, in a lot of instances. So what's more efficient? I don't know. I think commuting's horrible, especially in this area. But the utility work, the start of that is like, all right, well, maybe there is. Because I'll tell you, that building.
The Helix.
The Helix?
John's pointing at the Helix.
The Helix is sick looking and futuristic. And I like how it pulls in like the total modern, helix of it, but also the trees and the, environmental side of things.
You don't think it looks like a poop emoji?
Yeah, maybe.
A little bit. But if it's green and glass-like, then it won't look like that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to think about what the takeaway. It's like, okay, well, there might be, it's like, what is the takeaway from here? I think for me, when Amazon paused the construction, I think my mindset was like, okay, good, they should pause it. No one's working from home. But now I'm kind of shifted into more of a less optimistic, like the next time the next corporation comes to Arlington and says, hey, we're going to promise you all these great things. I said, are you? Are you really going to follow through on all these things? And, I wouldn't be disappointed if some of the plans changed. If Amazon said, hey, I actually don't need all this office space. Maybe we'll do something different. Maybe we'll switch things up. Because I think, some of the biggest growth is being able to identify plans that you had, and now with new information, you can adjust those plans from there.
Sure, so, and I think that's natural, and it's a good thing that they paused because they didn't need the space at that time. But having the utilities going in is definitely a positive. Now, what I'd like to say is my daughter plays lacrosse now, and she was playing at the park down here.
Yeah, Longbridge.
Man, Longbridge Park is sick. I mean, it's a newer park. It has a trail that goes along the railroad track. So, my son was there riding his scooter and he's like, I want to watch the train. So we go up and watch the trains. The fields are amazing. They're all AstroTurf. They're beautiful. And I'm standing there and I'm looking at Crystal City and Pentagon City.
The Boeing headquarters.
The Boeing headquarters. We were looking at the Boeing headquarters. We were looking at the Bella Vista because my wife used to own in the Bella Vista. And I was telling the kids, hey, your mom used to own a condo right in there. But it was funny just to see how the area has changed in the last 20 years. And not only that, how cool it actually is. How cool that we have such a good park there that I was like, growing up, I never stepped foot on AstroTurf. She's 9 and she's playing lacrosse on a huge AstroTurf field. Now, and then the swimming thing that's down there as well. Granted, I think that's totally underutilized.
The Aquatic Center.
The Aquatic Center.
Have you ever gone?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Bodie was taking swimming classes in there.
Okay.
It's a really, really nice center, but I think it's tax dollars that we use to create this beautiful park, and it's beautiful. But I think the Aquatic Center is probably a little underutilized, but those fields, man, it was humming.
Yeah, I think like Marymount University, does soccer there as well.
Yeah.
So, I'm just concerned about the next time Arlington shells out a bunch of tax benefits to the next corporation.
Yeah, and I wonder if
don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, it's true, and it's like it could be lies, right? And so, is there some sort of benefit if they to Arlington County if they don't fulfill what they promised, right? I wonder, and I think there has to be, right? There has to be something like if you don't fulfill this within this time frame, then you owe X, right? I hope there is that provision in there because that's the way it's looking right now. But we'll see.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
Well, drop your comments on Amazon HQ 2 below if you're familiar. If you've been to Longbridge Park and played on that AstroTurf, it is pretty neat.
Yeah, it's nice.
All right, Shawn, moving on. There was an article from Mike Del Preti, more of like a kind of nerdy real estate brokerage type of article, so we naturally love those. Talking about profitability as a proxy for a healthy business model. And essentially what it runs into, Shawn, are different real estate models and brokerages. So think like the real brokers, the Redfins, the Zillows, the Compasses, the EXPs, and Douglas Elliman, things like that, and how much money these companies are making or how much they are losing. And so first up is net loss. And it's interesting because 2020, first of all, none of these companies are profitable.
Yeah.
Our company, Real Broker, is sitting in, I guess, third least unprofitable position. Whereas Compass raked in a net loss of $321 million in 2023. And we'll get into that because it's not just like, oh my gosh, they're losing all this money. There's some factors behind that are contributing. And 2023, that was a tough year to sell real estate.
Super tough.
You know, transactions were down like something like 40%. You know, the piece of the pie that everyone wanted just got completely shrunk. But there's a couple interesting things that we can take away from this. To me, Shawn, the first one was net margin. So the way that Del Prete says net margin is basically the net loss proportional to its revenue. So losing $100 million is different for a company with $1 billion in revenue compared to a company with, you know, $100 million in revenue. So 2023 net margin, EXP, Anywhere, and Real had the lowest net margin losses, whereas Redfin stood out with a net margin of minus 13%. This is, you know, pretty interesting to me because the Redfin CEO is always going on, you know, these, you know, Squawk Box and all these televised appearances talking about, you know, the healthy real estate market and whatnot. But it seems to me that when we're looking at these, we can almost kind of break them down into different models of, you know, you have the EXP, the Reals, and the Fathoms as almost like low fee brokerages, where you have the Redfin and Zillows as more of the disruptors, right? They're a little bit different. But Redfin, the company that says that they can save you like a lot of money, is losing the most amount of money.
Yeah.
Shawn, when you're looking at these numbers, does anything jump out at you?
Honestly, the one thing that jumps out at me the most, I would say, is Anywhere. Because, you know, we used to work for an Anywhere company. EXP is...
Can you rattle off who Anywhere is?
Century 21, Coldwell Banker. I don't even know who else is in there, but...
Is Berkshire in there?
Berkshire might be in there. I can't remember, but... you know, those are the big box brokerages. Those are the brokerages that have been around for a long time. Better Homes,
Sotheby's, ERA,
Sotheby's,
Corcoran, C21, and Better Homes.
Yeah, so the big conglomerates of big real estate companies. So for me, I would have thought that they would have been losing more because they have more of the office buildings. They're the old generation of real estate companies. But then again, they're still established. They're still doing well. And they've been around for a lot longer than the EXP and the Real, right? Like Real is a new company. Anywhere has been here for everywhere for a long time, right? So I guess that's the difference, but that was surprising to me, right?
Yeah, I think Anywhere may have seen the writing on the wall and has done a really good job in the past like 12 to 18 months to really cut back on some of these major expenses.
Yeah, and you've got to think the young companies like Real, EXP's not as young as Real, but they're spending a lot of money to get what they need, to get the people, so their spend is going to be higher because they're a newer company. Whereas, you know, these bigger companies that have been around a while, their spend isn't as big because they're a well-known name, right? So I think that's where that comes in.
Another interesting graph by Mike Del Prete, and I'll list and link this article below so you can check it out yourself, is net loss per transaction. This one's pretty simple to understand. How much money are these companies making or losing per sale of a house? EXP leads the way with what is that, like minus $20 or something, almost breaking even. Real looks like they're losing about $450 per transaction. Douglas Elliman, Compass, Redfin are all around that $1,500 to $2,000 losing mark. But if you include Open Door, Open Door's losing over $14,000 per transaction. Now we don't really see Open Door too much. Every now and then in Northern Virginia, you're going to see Open Door. It's really like an Arizona, Utah kind of Sun Belt, West Coast type of thing. Shawn, what are your thoughts on net loss per transaction?
The one that surprises me here is Douglas Elliman. Douglas Elliman is, they're a luxury brand. They're supposedly a luxury brand, and for them to be losing, you think they're selling the elevated, the higher priced properties. They should be. They have a higher net commission. They should be making more. So I wonder where that went wrong to the fact that they're one of the biggest losers per transaction. You know?
There's got to be some line item expense that's just going through the roof. That's
what I'm thinking though. They tried to expand in a lot of different cities. They tried to expand very quickly, and they tried to expand here in DC, And I think in some instances they fell short. So there was probably a lot of spend to try to get it to grasp. And it was just a really bad year. 2023 was horrible. So to try to expand in that year when everything is contracting is a really difficult thing to do. So that's probably what it was. They're spending way more than they were used to spending. And
well, they don't have any market share. And
Right.
so the transactions that they are doing, it's divided by so much fewer transactions.
That's
so many
true.
fewer transactions.
yeah. So that, I guess that explains it, but that's just surprising to see. And it's very cool to see in this graph.
So my next question, Shawn, is like, does this matter? Like, do people even care? Because, if you're an agent, and by the way, you take out some of these stock incentives and, Zillow's making a ton of money. And, I know people that work for Compass that are making a ton of money and doing great. So it's not to say that, hey, this brokerage is doing bad, that brokerage is doing great. It's more of informational. But, if you're an agent, do you care? Because, at some point, and Mike Del Prete says in the article, maybe businesses are supposed to make money. Maybe at some point, these graphs are supposed to be in the other direction, not in the minus direction. If you're an agent and all of a sudden your brokerage goes under, you just switch brokerages, right? But if you're a consumer, do you care about graphs like this? Like what should the takeaway be from an article like this?
Consumer side, I mean, I don't know. It's tough. I mean, because there's so much hidden in these numbers, and you would think that these companies, to be a company, don't they need to be profitable? You know what I mean? Like, that's what.
How can they be sustainable losing $321 million?
I don't understand that, and it's like I get it that, right? Like when you do your taxes and you're running all these numbers, it's like I just don't understand how most of the companies are not profitable. It drives me nuts. Right. Like, how is this possible? Right. But the good thing is, and I think the thing I take away from this is, we joined Real about a year and a half ago. Real Broker, it was nothing at the time when we joined it. It was like 8,000 nationally, 8,000 agents when we were looking at it. And now it's like 17,000 agents. But the great thing about it is its stock has been doing really well. And why did it do well is because of the growth of the company. When everything else was folding, when everybody else was losing agents, the only one company that was gaining agents was Real. And that's the company that we went to. And we went to this company because we saw something. We've been doing this a long time in this area, and we saw something that said, well, why are people going to this? It's because it's an attraction kind of thing. But not only that, it's a stock buy-in. And that's what we started doing, is buying stock of our company. Every time we do a transaction, we buy stock if you're part of that program. And all of a sudden, you look at your stock account, you're like, wow, that stock just tripled, right? I mean, like, that's where you see the great thing about changing brokerages, and agents should kind of open their eyes to this. And I'm not going on a preaching thing that you should go to Real. Like, be where you're comfortable. And we know that there's great agencies out there, and people feel comfortable in those agencies for different things. But for me, and hopefully you, the reason we joined was for X, Y, and Z, and X, Y, and Z came true, and you join a young company that you believe in that's going to grow, you're going to grow with it. And I think that's the missing thing about some of these brokerages is you don't have an opportunity to invest in the company with them. And that's one opportunity that we saw and we took. So,
if you're a homeowner, if you're a purchaser, do you want to list your house with a company that's lost $321 million, right? Do you want to list your house with a company that loses $14,000 per transaction? What I see is, more of a change in the type of brokerages, right? So we see the EXP, the Fathoms, the Reals. They're at the top of the chart. That's not to say that they're always going to be at the top of the chart. Things are constantly changing. But for the Compasses, the Anywheres, the Douglas Elliman, more of the traditional brokerage models, are they going to be changing their fee structures? Are they going to be redoing what they do internally? Because we've seen a lot of agent migration. By the way, I love Real Broker. The videos on Instagram joining Real, people announcing themselves joining Real, where it's like cinematography. It's like, I'm kind of tired of it.
Yeah,
I'm kind of over it. They're all dressed up. it doesn't do it for. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
am I just a crotchety old man yelling at the sky?
Well, no, I think all of Instagram, all of social media is starting to get old to me. Like, it's like, how many different things can you do? I mean, like, granted, I scroll all the time, but man, how many times can we do a different video for a different house? Like, I mean, we've been doing this. Matt has been doing this for 10 years at least, right? Videos for properties. I've been doing it for 6. And, now you start seeing, I'm like, all right, I'm tired of it, but the problem is we follow real estate agents. So then that's all we see. And, we joined Real a year and a half ago so now to see thousands more join and do the same videos and do the same things. Yeah, it starts to get old, but
I try not to be a hater on other people's content. It's just,
I mean, like, hey, content is content.
Like, you're switching brokerages, right? You're not like reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, so. But I think the main thing from here is that the newer companies are more cloud-based. Those cloud-based brokerages don't have the overhead. They don't have the office space that these big brokerages have that is costing them so much. And not only that, these other companies, Matt, you probably get your phone ringing all the time. From who? Recruiters, right? All these companies call us constantly, like, "Hey, you should come and check us out. Come check us out." And I'm not going anywhere, right? Like, but they're paying for that. They're paying for this person to call and try to get other agents over. Whereas, the Reals and the EXPs, they rely on the agents to make the recruiting, and they don't have the office space that's their overhead. So that's why you're seeing them more profitable in these. So, take it for what it is, but they're all losing money, which is kind of crazy. But I guess, for taxes, that's why corporations don't pay.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts below if you're surprised that all these real estate companies, brokerages are losing millions and millions of dollars. All right, Shawn, let's move on to in or out, whether you're in or out on a house in the United States. This one is actually in Washington, D.C. Shawn, let me introduce you to 1738 Glick Court in the northwest area of Washington, D.C. Shawn, what we have here is a skinny house. This is a 1-bedroom, 1.5-bath house, 600 square feet. The outdoor space is 5 feet wide. The indoor space is might be 6 feet, 6 feet wide. So it's 2 levels. It has the full kitchen. It has a quasi dining area. It has somewhat of a living room nook. It's not necessarily an entire living room. It's 600 square feet. And then you have the upstairs with the primary bedroom and the bathroom. But it is a skinny house, a shotgun house, a tiny house. It's just the smallest, skinniest little thing that you've ever seen. And it is for sale for under $600,000, Shawn. So a single family detached house in Northwest for new construction, by the way, under $600,000. You're taking a look at the video right now. Brand new, Shawn, for $599,900. Are you in or out on 1738 Glick Court?
Man, it's really well done. Is this all brand new from the ground up?
Brand new.
Wow. You don't see that often either.
You don't.
In DC. So funny and such a risk that they took to say, hey, let's do this. Let's make the skinniest house possible. For $599,900, I mean, decent price for brand new construction. But Matt, I gotta say, like, it's just too skinny, right?
Hey, no such thing as too skinny. Come on now.
Oh, Matt, but like you could literally almost touch both walls.
Like fingertips on both walls, possibly.
Yeah, and I think that would drive me absolutely crazy. I think it's really nice. It's really well done.
Can I show you the footprint of what it used to be or what it like? So, Google, you go back in time. In 2018, it
was a car park there.
It's a driveway. You go to 2022, and you have the foundation. Look at this.
The footers are like
Shawn,
literally
look at this footers. It's wild, and it's like you're not even on a street. You're in like a back alley, so you're basically like the carriage house for this house here.
Basically, the driveway of another townhouse said, you know what? I'm going to build something in our driveway. Let's just build something in our driveway.
Do we want a parking spot or do we want a house?
That's amazing.
By the way, no parking comes with this unit.
Yeah,
so
we're not
you got to park on the street somewhere.
Hang your bike outside off the side of it.
Yeah.
So for those reasons, Matt, I am not going to purchase this one. I think it's for a special person, and that special person ain't me.
Yeah, Shawn, I think it's super cool. I'm kind of on the fence right now because for $599, no HOA fees, no condo fees.
Tell me, talk to me, sell me.
And you got some privacy, and you have 1.5 bathrooms. Now, could you fit 1.5 people in this property? Probably not. You could probably fit one person, maybe a dog. So I think once you tap out at 2 people, you're gonna drive yourself insane. Like Elaine and I were watching this like tiny home thing on YouTube about like a Tempe, Arizona tiny house, and the guy, the 25-year-old, is like, "Yeah, I'm gonna live here for the next 6 years." Like, no, you're not. It's 400 square feet. You meet a lovely lady in Tempe. You guys are moving out. You're moving on to something bigger. So I love the idea of a condo alternative, kind of unique, tiny house. Like if you have the funds, if you're at that part of life, it's just a little too quirky for me. They've tried to sell it before. They've tried to sell it for $625. They've tried to rent it out. They've tried. They even started it at $799 last year. They dropped it down to $649. It got to contingent, and then it was removed. So
good to know.
Clearly some people have expressed interest, but I think someone will buy it. It's just not going to be me.
Yeah, somebody's definitely going to buy it. It's nice property, but literally you walk through your kitchen, you're running. I mean, if you're walking 2 at each other, you're running into each other. Like that's just the way it is anywhere in the house. Where this could do well, I mean, like you could Airbnb this thing, right? Airbnb it as like the skinniest house ever and see what happens.
I mean, think you have
just
to,
as like a I don't know.
You better check your DC Airbnb rules and regulations.
That's true, and
I don't know if it's eligible.
Honestly, I'm surprised that they got the approval to build this. Right? Like nowadays, like how did they get the approval? Who approved? I mean, the city had to approve it. And me, if I was the planner and I was looking at this, I'd be like, you're crazy. Like I just probably wouldn't have approved it. But yeah, hey, they did it. They built it, and I think they're going to have trouble selling it.
Certainly a more interesting house for it'd be cool to see, like, here's what $599 gets you in Frederick, Maryland, Arlington, Virginia, Washington, D.C.
Now let's go down and see it. Let's go film a video.
I'd be down there. So there was like a Nest cam in the living room that I saw. So I mean, it would be them taking a video of me taking a video of them.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we could go down to Shaw, find some street parking, and have ourselves quite a time.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Well, let us know if you're in or out in the comment section below. And for Shawn and myself, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Take care.